Got two guys in the studio right now. Yeah, we got John Evich, an investor at Top Shelf Cannabis, owned by Tom Beckley, applying for a pot license. And we got Bob Leeds, the co-owner of Sea of Green Farms with Phil Tobias. These guys are at the forefront of our new recreational marijuana laws, and they are really, it looks like just a week or so away from a dramatic change in our environment here in the state of Washington. Welcome to the show, both you guys. How you doing, Bob and John?
Doing great.
Okay. Now, boil it down, simplify it for me, John. Exactly what do you do?
Okay, so I am an investor at Top Shelf Cannabis with a lifelong friend of mine, Thomas Beckley, who is the applicant, and he filed as a sole proprietor, so it's in his name currently.
It's in his name, but you're an investor.
Correct.
So that would be like when someone builds a gaming casino, someone else from Vegas gave him the money.
Correct, and part of the reason we're on the front line is because I think he filed as a sole proprietor, making it easier than an LLC. So it is possible later on to switch over to an LLC and have multiple.
And all of this has been a process of following the legal laws to get in line to get these limited licenses and permits, right?
As they change daily.
As they change, which is interesting. And as an investor, this is somewhat risky for you because they keep moving and changing the cheese and the rules, right?
Very risky. We at this point are not guaranteed a license, and there's been quite a chunk of funds dumped into a potential.
Wow. Oh, but wait a minute. You're not guaranteed a license, and yet this starts next week?
Yesterday in the PI, it came out that Brian Smith from Liquor Control Board stated that we will open on the 8th, a certain amount of...
July 8th.
July 8th.
Day after my birthday.
Perfect.
Well, on the 7th...
That's not my sobriety birthday.
We know what to
it's
get
a different
you.
birthday. Yes.
On the 7th, we're supposed to get our license, so if you want to come celebrate in Olympia with us on your
No,
birthday...
that's okay. I'm not one of your potential customers, but I'm fascinated about this. And for decades, I thought the marijuana laws are onerous, and that it's ridiculous that we popularize and market liquor and alcohol recreationally, and we were throwing people in jail for something that some could argue is, at least it produces more docile, high people.
Chilling out.
Yeah, they chill out. So anyway, all right, so back to you. So, all right, so you're an investor working on getting a license for retail, right?
For retail, correct.
For retail. And retail is different from farming. And this whole thing is controlled by the Liquor Control Board. Bob Leeds, welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
Let me get you, hold on a second, make sure I've got you. Say hi again.
Hi.
Okay. Your microphone is kind of low.
That's Joe's mic, so it's all messed
Joe's
up.
a shorter
that
man
better?
than you.
That's a little better. Okay. So growing, that's the part, by the way, that's the unseen. Most of us are disconnected from the production of most products that we have. Like, most people will have sausage, but they've never been to a slaughterhouse.
And that's just fine for most people.
For most people. Most people will, even they'll have eggs, but they've never been to the farm to see where they come from. So to me, it's fascinating to know that behind the scenes, in order for his store to hopefully open July 8th, that you've got to be growing. But I understand you've had a maze of regulations and paperwork and forms and permits, and you have to deal with the municipalities where you are for something, even though it's perfectly legal, right?
That's right.
Okay. Where's your farm?
It's at the foot of Magnolia. We're on Commonwealth Way.
In Seattle?
In Seattle.
Okay. How big of a farm? It's not a huge area, right?
It's 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
We hope to add a second story as soon as the state gives us the permit to do so.
Got it. So it's indoors.
It's indoors.
So I can't come and take a tour like at the Bouchard Gardens?
Well, not
Treetop
quite
apples?
like
Yeah.
at the Bouchard Gardens, but you could come and take a tour.
I'd love, I wouldn't mind that. I don't know, I'm not a consumer of this stuff, but
You have a green thumb. It is, after all,
Oh, I love
planting.
growing things, but I've already been told I'm not going to grow that, which is fine.
Oh.
So you're growing, you have a license for that.
We do have a license for
Okay.
that.
Previously, it was all medicinal. What changed when the law for recreation was passed?
What changed was that for medicinal, you could grow 15 plants.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're able to grow as many plants as we want. We can have up to 700 or 7,000 square feet
7,000 square feet is the largest size. Okay.
for us because we're a tier 2.
So you're one of the people that's getting ready to supply product for his store. And if I understand this correctly, the Liquor Control Board is monitoring this from seed to package, right?
Actually, from seed to sale.
Seed to sale. And the package, when it's in the package, it's ready for
That's
sale.
part of the process.
So they went from seed to sale. How exactly does that work? Where do you get your seeds? And you can only buy them from licensed seed sellers?
In the beginning, they gave us 15 days. Once we received our license on March 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Once we received our license, we had 15 days to bring in as much product as we could and wanted to. And so we brought in seeds, we brought in clones, we brought in
And the
other
clones are
plants.
started plants.
They're started
And
plants.
is that similar to propagating anything where you take a cutting and you propagate it?
Just like doing a tomato plant.
Okay. And you can do that with tomatoes. You can cut
You
up
can.
it. And my wife is a big fan of Routon. And
This is what you're describing is one of the essence of the bud buying.
yes,
Is that you split and add plants together to create a different flower.
different strains.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fun of it.
Are you involved in that part of it, or you basically choose the strains you care about and manufacture them?
Well, we
Or grow
started.
them.
Right now, we're just basically trying to get off the ground, and we're doing things that are already regular strains. We have 5 strains that we've created ourselves by cross-pollination. And
You have
by-
created your own, because that's brand.
have.
Having a brand name is kind of what gives someone.
It is exactly the same thing.
if it catches on, as
Yep.
in any other business. All right.
Bob,
now,
have you got a face for organization yet? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but Jody is pretty versed.
I'm looking for endorsement
is.
opportunities.
She could
when
be
she
your.
was talking about cloning and things, I was thinking, here's an employee.
Yeah,
My God.
somebody seems to know what she's talking about. I wonder
Yeah.
what that's all about.
She could be your, you know that Wendy, the girl that was on the Wendy's sign?
Yeah.
She could be your Wendy.
It's
All
2
right.
in the morning. Are you hungry?
Actually, who knows what's going to happen in 6 months around here? I mean, it
No one
could
knows,
be.
yeah.
It's going to be as commonplace as we're expecting
All right,
it to
so
be.
let me ask this. Is our state being prudent in not jumping the gun as fast as Colorado and letting Colorado sort of pave the way? Or are they disorganized and have no idea what they're doing, and that's why it's taking so long? Or a little bit of both?
I'd have to say, from what I've been with it since the get-go, and it looks to me like they're doing a great job.
You're like, okay.
The
But that's
pressure-
because you're wanting to get a license. Of course you're going to.
They're doing a bang-up
This is
job.
a fantastic state.
Nary a bad word to say about them.
They're perfect. No,
Yeah.
nobody's perfect except for our store and these guys
Yeah.
as producers.
Okay.
but they're doing an incredible job with the time frame they have to get everything. They're learning
Yeah.
by the second, just
Yeah,
like
they are.
we are.
And they want to make sure. Like, I met with our attorney general, Bob, and he's like in touch with the feds all the time. He's doing a preemptive, notifying them of everything we're doing. He's asking them for if they are going to give guidance, and making sure they're not going to be any surprises. It feels like our state has taken a let's just jump into it approach than Colorado did. But it also, I don't hear any horror stories coming out of Colorado either.
No, they said our agent actually told us that he's here to help us. They're here to get us open.
Okay, now, how hard is it to get your license? I mean, is the licenses are all gone now. No one else can grow, right?
Oh, no. In January, they'll be allotting more licenses.
They will in January. Okay.
That's what we've been told.
Okay.
But it was a 1.5-year process
To get it,
to get it.
right? And your retail, that's what seems to be taking a long time. We saw the first guy got his license. It was in the news about a week and a half ago, and he's opening, I think he said, July 1st.
Yeah, there's been a lot of assumptions in the industry, and to the best of my knowledge, that's incorrect. It's right here in print yesterday in Jake's article in the PI that the 7th is when they'll be issuing the licenses,
Got it.
and the 8th because they want to be fair and get them all out.
They
at
want
the
them all
same
open at
time.
the same day.
Yep, and they're aiming for 20 licenses, but it's,
Otherwise, it'd be like that show with the zombies all approaching one spot.
Double tap.
so
What's
20
that show called? The Walking Stone.
Walking
Dead.
Stone. The Smoking Dead, yes, I apologize.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a
I
question
apologize.
for Bob, the
The Walking
grower.
Deadheads.
Uh-huh.
Did you were you a farmer all your life? Have you always been a grower?
I hadn't seen a pot plant until.
I'm not talking pot.
Oh.
I'm talking pot. I mean,
No.
I mean,
Have you
when
grown anything? Tomatoes. You seem to know about tomatoes.
Well, when I grew up on a farm.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm, and then I went into
Agriculture.
And you
or-
don't smoke.
I don't smoke.
Wow.
Best kind of dealer, right there. I
Oh,
don't mean
yeah.
dealer. I apologize. That's a
So
derogatory.
you could
term.
hire me. You could hire me to trim plants too. And I would have
could.
I would have no compunction to smoke it.
And you would be my best trimmer.
Right. Have you had other trimmers with deep pockets?
Sticky
Maybe.
fingers.
Yeah.
Did you ever envision when you were growing up on a farm? I mean, that's a bizarre question, but
Oh my God, no.
was it hard to make the leap to be a marijuana grower?
I saw a plant about 2 years ago. Phil, my partner, came to me and said, let's talk about having a marijuana grow. And that was at the time that it was on the ballot and it was in the news a lot.
And your background in agriculture really helps out in what you're doing.
It does.
Bob, may I ask how old you are?
I'm 70.
You're 70 years old. You look good.
Thank you.
I thought you were like
Yeah.
60 and looking okay.
No.
Well, he hasn't
Wow.
stopped smiling.
All right.
That
So,
helps you.
and by the way, the reason I ask this is there's a reason for that question.
Okay.
Men of a certain age, you know that show, Men of a Certain Age, once men get to be 50 or beyond, changing careers or finding anything where they can actually make a living is very difficult. And so for you, this represents an incredible entrepreneurial opportunity. And is that what you saw it as?
Not exactly. That's part of it, of course. But it was something to do and to have fun at.
Oh.
And the more I looked into it, the more interesting it became, the more fun it looked like. I love going to work every morning. It's really fun. You see plants on Friday that are 3 inches tall. You come back on Monday and they're a foot tall.
That's
had
how
a
I feel
dream
about my
about that.
tomatoes and my plum trees too. That's the feeling of a farm.
Isn't that fun?
It's
Yeah.
the most joy you can have
It
is to
is.
help nature do its thing. I'm a beekeeper too. Do bees like cannabis flowers?
I don't know.
Well, have you ever seen bees in there? Because they'd find a way in.
Laziest soldier bees of all time.
I don't know if they could fly after
Fat
they left.
queen eating Doritos.
I
Ain't
wonder.
gonna
I have
work.
to look that up.
I don't know, but I'll find out.
I wonder what the honey would taste
The
like.
queen's gonna be like, more Led Zeppelin. Somebody get out of the hive and do something. This is friggin' ridiculous.
So
It's
will you make
fascinating.
marijuana-infused honey, if that's the case?
If
Well,
that's a
well,
possibility.
I'm not. Although we have this kid who does the flavored honey. Most beekeepers are not for adding things to honey because the bees themselves did it with the pollen. So whatever the bees' pollen, whatever the
Oh.
pollen is, and the pollen and the nectar, whatever the bees got from the plants ends up flavoring the honey.
Right, blackberry honeys, they pollinate from blackberry bushes.
And by
Okay.
the way, weeds. Here's the weird thing about it, and I'm sure I could Google that quickly, Eric. Weeds make the most delicious honey, and it's a fight between beekeepers and the noxious weed people because they spray to get rid of blackberries, which make the most beautiful honey, and they spray to get rid of various thistles, which also make the tastiest honey. So I'm wondering if there's if you need bees, and you and your kind need bees,
okay.
because pollination's important, right?
No.
How do the plants get pollinated?
Actually, they don't.
Oh.
We don't have any male plants. We only have female plants. And we do that through cloning.
Right.
Amazon women on the moon.
They're self-pollinating.
It's like Jurassic
That's
Park.
Jody's dream for
Right?
women,
Yeah.
too.
And it is so close to happening.
They would just put us in cages and take
Hillary
us out when
Clinton,
they need us.
2016. By
Yeah.
2017, you're all
So
out of here.
all right. So back to your deal. So we're on the radio. You get a chance to speak about what you'd like to see happen and have people hear you. So I want to answer that, but I also want to answer this. What would you like people to know about your businesses who are frightened of your businesses? What would you like to say to the people who might be nervous that this law is taking effect? And we'll be right back with Bob Leeds and John Evich.
Really love to ask, is there a place for the hopeless sinners who has hurt all mankind? Just a Savior's own belief. One love. What about a one?
Oh, it's the Bob Rivers Show, 95.7 KJR.
Nice to see you run around like that, boss.
Look at that dude run on his
Yeah,
bum
man.
old man knee.
It's okay. We got some Marley going. Got some growers in the room. We're cool.
Got some good pain reliever.
Good.
All right, I'd asked Pedro to play a Twisted Tune by text, but he missed it. You heard our "What If God Smoked Cannabis" song, right? It's a fun song, isn't it?
It is a fun song.
Okay, so back with Bob Leeds and John Evich. The questions a lot of people have, like there was a story in the news last night about Shelton. They're upset. Apparently they had a farm like yours
Yes.
that they approved, and now people want to not have it there. Do you know about that?
I do know about that. I was born and raised in Shelton.
Ah. So what would you say to a community that's worried about having somebody growing in their town?
I would want to tell them that we are trying very, very hard to make this a safe industry.
Because they think it'll bring crime.
They do think it'll bring crime. I would tell them that what it's going to do is to legalize and to put a lot more pressure on law enforcement to watch out for and to protect the community. Right. We as growers are protecting our area and our community.
Yeah, you've got all kinds of security, I would imagine.
We have all kinds of security.
The market's being satisfied already by criminals.
Yes.
I mean, if you think marijuana is going to bring crime, I got news for you. Marijuana's already there, and it's the criminals right now, the only ones doing it.
Right.
That's right.
So it'll actually it'll replace crime
I don't
with
know that
legal.
I don't know that it'll replace it, but
Well,
it'll
do you think
certainly
criminals will
constrict it.
stop
Oh,
selling?
dude.
No.
No.
Criminals will have to move on to other things, is what
Well,
fear that I've heard.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, things like meth, things like heroin.
Well, they already sell meth and heroin because they're the only ones that can sell those too. Do you
I
think
hear
they're
you.
going to do like this? Is one of the questions people have is what's the downside of legalization? I don't see. The only concern I see is that kids always wanted to get a drink and it was legal, so they could find someone older to buy it for them. So the only downside I see is that it becomes similar to alcohol. But here's the deal. When I was a kid and I wanted alcohol, you could get an older brother to buy it for you. When I was a kid and I wanted some oregano, which is what I ended up getting the first time, by the way.
I'm so high. I feel it immediately. I'm completely freaking
I
out.
had to find a drug dealer, right?
Right.
Instead of an older brother. So I'm not sure which is worse. I honestly don't know. But there will certainly be instances where stuff happens. So so you would say to the local homeowners that, like, hey, having something legal in your town, sure, there's money in banks, and that could attract bank robbers. But a place that grows stuff, it's not packaged, it's not ready for sale, and it's highly, it's got a security system, and everybody's watching it, so what's the big deal? I guess the problem is the smell.
Oh.
He's not wrong.
Am I not? Am I right about that? Because I've heard that it's just, it gets on everything.
During the bloom season, it does.
Yeah.
But we have charcoal filters. If you drove by our building, you wouldn't be able to tell.
You would have no idea.
You would have no idea we were there.
Wow, because I used to drive through on the way to work in the mornings through Greenwood, and you'd smell weed driving by various
The dispensaries,
medicinal.
yeah.
You'd smell weed in the streets at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, man. You're going to see what's going to happen. All the people who are thinking that there's going to be a downside are going to be put in their place. My personal opinion is that this is going to bring jobs and money. If you're going to try and pretend
I love jobs and money.
like
There
there was
lots of jobs. And money.
like there was no weed before the legalization, you're just being silly. And if the people in the suburbs think that it's going to ruin their wonderful clean suburban lifestyles, then why don't you check out who's doing heroin and meth all over the country
Already
These
in your
people-
neighborhood.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
right.
we're just trying to be legit.
All right, so that's good. So now for the retail guys, we have John sitting here. John, what's your shop going to look like in my neighborhood?
We're on Hannigan Road in Bellingham, Washington, so we're not quite in your neighborhood, but we welcome you to come visit.
What are you next to?
We're next to, so Hannigan Road is about a mile from I-5.
Right.
It's just a mile over from the Guide Meridian, which is where Bellis Fair Mall is. It's the main hub. We didn't go for a downtown location because there's so many requirements, 1,000 feet from a school.
There's too many churches and playgrounds and
Exactly,
schools
licensed
in downtown.
daycare.
Yeah.
So we went with somewhat of an industrial area in a place called Hennepin Plaza. It's next to a construction company. There's a McDonald's right up the road. I should have bought stock in them. There's an AM/PM. Should have bought stock in them. But when you walk into our store, I hate to stereotype us as this. It's going to have a Northwest feel. It's going to be professional. It's not going to look like a pharmacy. It's not going to look like your brother Jim's cousin Fred, who sells out of his garage. I don't want to stereotype it as a Starbucks or a Woods, but we have cedar.
You go with like Starbucks feel?
It's classy.
Yeah,
Well,
we have
people-
a 4-foot wainscoting of cedar, rough cut, nice cedar.
Cedar
along the
wainscot.
bottom.
Yeah.
And then we have 16 to 18 foot tall ceilings, which are painted in like a neutral, modern
So it's
color.
going to look like an REI, but instead of
RE
fancy
High.
shoes, RE High.
It's going to look better than
Better
RE
than
High.
RE High.
Now, let me ask this: prices compared. Again. I'm going for the issues I hear people talking about.
If you were told a multi-billion-dollar industry was coming to town, if it was anything but pot, you wouldn't be uncomfortable talking about this stuff. But you're a little.
I'm not
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
You're
It's hard for
stammering
some of
all
us
over
to
the
talk
place.
about it because we're still waiting upon the license. So anything we say, and thanks to my attorney Sean Alexander, who's friends of the show, and that's why we're here, and everyone made contact.
They have a family connection.
No, he's friends with you guys or Luciana.
Yeah.
So, but
All right, so let me get back to this then. Pricing. One of the things people talk about sitting around having their cocktails, ironically, is the price. Because if the price is too high, in other words, if the state taxes it too much and the price is too high, then the black marketeers will stay in business. If the price is too low, they're afraid that it will be it'll promote much more widespread use and irresponsible use. So, have you got a handle on prices yet?
it's all up in the air. But the average, how much time do I have to explain?
Well,
I'll make it quick.
No, I want to give you longer than you would get on a soundbite on the television news for sure. Okay. But we also have to break in 7 minutes. So go ahead.
We're going to do what we need to do to stay in business and make it worthwhile to do what we're doing, but we want to be in it for the long term. We want the customers to be happy. We want I-502 to take place and open up and not have everybody come in and see everything at $25 a gram and say I-502 is a joke. We want the long term.
Okay, now explain what he just said.
Okay, so in comparison to medical, your grams cost like 10, 12, 15 roundabout. Every
And
store
that
is
compares to, because all I know about this, I learned on Weeds, okay, from what's her name, the great actress.
Nancy, yeah.
Mary Louise Parker.
Mary Louise Parker. Awesome. I loved her. And what I learned was that when medical started opening up in shops in California, then pretty much her business selling illegal weed kind of just dried up. It was, everybody was getting it legally, and the whole thing collapsed. And then she had to live out of her car.
So legal guys can't go or shouldn't go and don't want to go that much above your medical pricing.
Got it.
Right?
So
That's bad for business.
But if they force you with high taxes and regulation and all of the licensing and all of that to charge 25, then who's going to buy?
Well, with relationships like what we have in the industry, the people I've been dealing with, the producer processors, I've dealt with people strictly who are in it for the long term. They could be gouging us right now. This is a total estimate from what I've talked to all the producers. When we were to open, the scheduled amount or the estimate was only 300 to 400 pounds statewide. That's a total guesstimate of everybody.
That's how much they'll be for the whole state.
For the whole state. That's
And
just
by
an
the way,
estimate.
hold on a second. I read this in first grade. I think it was supply and demand.
No, that's that is
Yeah,
it.
supply and demand. So that would be silly because that would initially there's not going to be enough. Everybody's been predicting that. So price wise, though, here we are, 14 days or so away from opening retail, and all the licenses aren't in place, all the rules aren't in place, and we don't know the price. Is that right?
That's right. We can estimate our price, and I'll throw it out there right now. Like in the paper the other day, it said $20 to $25 a gram. We're going to actually aim at trying to be, say, 12, 15 to 25, nothing above that.
Okay.
But what's really hard is we can't get the product until the day before, so we can't test it. So how are we supposed to know the quality of our product except trusting our producer processors?
Right.
So you aim to cost the same as medical. And then the next question, and again, I hear people talk about this stuff. The medical people are all worried by you recreational people because they think, why, all these people that supposedly had a headache and stress and joints and aches and pains and stuff, a lot of them not going to mention anybody by name, really wanted it for recreational purposes. Will they switch over to recreational, hurting the medical marijuana people, or will there be a slight price advantage to medical so that people will want to keep a prescription and continue getting it that way? Is that a fair question?
That is a fair question.
Okay.
The medical people don't have to pay the tax. Recreational people are paying a 25% tax, so that'll be the difference.
That'll be the difference, a 25% difference. And you'll win them over with
Charm and love.
charm and love.
And that
cut wing
25%
coating.
tax is
Yeah.
producer 25, processor 25, retail 25.
So is it be predictable, as in with prescription medications, that they will raise the bar on getting a medical prescription to people who really need it and make everyone else go recreational, or will they? Who knows, right?
I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I could answer the question.
That's what I would do if I was the state.
There's been a lot of guessing on what's going to happen. I've heard some people say medical marijuana is going to go. I've heard that that'll move to us, or they could convert. Nobody really knows the answer to that at this point.
And you guys are you're entrepreneurial investors, because it's risky in that there's nobody knows the full outcome, but everybody knows it's probably going to be okay, and we'll get through it. And we also know that eventually, after these two states test the waters, that the feds, first off, the feds are going to let it happen here. And then eventually, one by one, probably the blue states going first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that Alaska and Oregon will be next
Right.
this fall.
Blue on the presidential electoral college map states will go first.
I believe that.
And then you'll end up with some Bible Belt states that never go, right?
Right.
Just like now, even there's still dry counties for alcohol.
Well, and there's dry cities here in
Right.
Seattle area.
Who are your favorite cities in Washington, and which are the cities that have absolutely said no way, no marijuana in our city at all?
Most of those cities are in eastern Washington,
Right.
and they run right down the middle of the
They're
state.
the red side of Washington.
They're the red side of
Yeah,
Washington.
that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, and so in Eastern Washington, people they will tour to, ironically, the green side of the state if
Yes.
they want to get to your product.
A really interesting thing is in Yakima, they have banned the sale of all marijuana products, not only bud, but everything. However, they let Analytical 360 come in to do testing. So they saw that there was a lot of dollars there
For growing,
for growing.
right? And that's an agricultural side of our state too.
Oh yeah.
One would think.
Yeah.
They went as far as cutting water. You heard that on the east side, cutting water for federal irrigation, cutting them off. But there's ways around that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, it's fascinating stuff, guys. I watched this happen over the last few years, and it's astounding to me that it's as complex as it is, and yet it's something people have been doing for generations, and certainly for decades and decades. Even our president said, I tried it. Everybody tried it. And a lot of people use it, and some people use it very, moderately, and it's like a cocktail to them in their lives. And you certainly can't say that booze doesn't cause any harm. No. You can't. It's like the biggest killer we have, isn't it? And yet, it's worth making a profit on.
Sure is.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in. If anybody has any questions, you can text them to us at 52309. I'm going to give you a few bits of feedback from the text, and there's lots of it. $25 a gram is ridiculous. Medical is way cheaper. You said that would happen. People would think that. Where I buy my medical marijuana, prices are $7, $9, and $10. So it is that cheap in some places? Huh. I pay, everybody's, this is a shopper's corner. Everybody's talking about what they pay. One person says they have a problem with smell outside a grower's building, so not every grower's building is the same. Did we find out if my bees would enjoy a visit to your grow room, Eric?
Actually, they do like weeds quite a bit. And, yeah, they say that dandelions, clover, all of that we consider weeds, blackberry bushes, which you know about, that makes great honey.
And cannabis?
Cannabis, I can't find anything conclusive about that.
I mean, I have no interest in the product, but if I could find an ancillary way to market something
I wonder if
unique.
I wonder if there's a medicinal quality to bees' honey made from
All
cannabis.
honey is a magic potion. It's amazing
Imagine
stuff.
if it was had cannabis oil in it.
It makes you immune. It boosts your immunity
Yeah.
to prosecution, to licensing, to fees, to all kinds of things.
Helps with allergies too.
It helps with your allergies to
And MERS.
federal agents and things like that. Okay, well, we'll look through the text, and you guys can answer some of the questions during the break. Thank you very much for coming in, folks. There you have it, the Pot Report today. John Evich and producer-processor Jonathan, Bob. I'm sorry, Bob, you had someone else who was going. No, we had Jonathan stay. Who do we have here? Not who was on the list. We have Bob Leeds, the co-owner of Sea Green Farms, and we have John Evich. All right, one of your guys didn't show. All right, that's it for us today on this particular topic. When we come back, don't worry about Paul McCartney. If you are upset that the poor guy had been touring too hard and his health was bad, Ringo Starr said some nice things to try and put us at ease, and we have even more today. Paul McCartney is fine.